Welcome to the Music Ed Matters podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Emily Williams Burch, and this podcast, it exists for you. Whether you're a music lover, an educator, a choir member, each week we bring guests to the show to help explore what matters in music. I'm so glad that you're here. Welcome to the show.
Hello and welcome to the Music Ed Matters podcast. I'm your host, Mr. Spencer Burch, and today is a very special guest, the one and only Dr. Emily Williams Burch. Welcome, Mr. Burch. Dr. Burch. I'm terrible
What
at
is
this.
that voice?
That's my podcasting voice. It's my NPR voice.
Is it really? Do you listen to a lot of NPR?
Only a little bit, like 10 minutes every day. That's it.
Every day. Okay. Hey guys, welcome to the show. Spencer's here. We're going to talk about New Year's stuff, but specifically culture and leadership.
Yes.
But also, I'm really excited to test out two things I'm starting this year: beginning of show questions and end of show questions. So I've created the new kickoff questions, which are like a warm-up in choir.
And I'm your guinea pig.
You're my guinea pig. Question one. What's your name?
My name is Spencer Burch.
Where do you live?
I live in Savannah, Georgia. Have you ever heard of Savannah?
And what do you do?
I am an engineering manager for Gulfstream Aerospace, all the private jets and all the interiors and that kind of stuff.
Like a G6.
Yeah, all that stuff, the rap songs.
What matters to you today?
Well, I'm going to piggyback on today's topic of culture and all that stuff. And I think what matters to me is we spend so much of our life at work doing whatever it is we call work. And hopefully you enjoy it and it's optimized for your life. So you have a good time because you spend like a lot of your waking hours doing this thing called work. So what matters to me is that you have a good time doing it.
And that starts with culture.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, how are the warm-up questions? Did you like them?
I did, yeah. I should have read them in front of me to be a little more prepared. But yeah, it was great.
Okay, we're doing okay. We're kicking off the year. All right, I want to start with, before we dive deep into the topic, let's reflect on 2022.
I haven't heard someone call that in a while. Normally it's 2022. I like that.
Whatever. All right, what are you most proud of?
I don't want to keep answering work questions, but that's what's on the brain now. Cause that's what we're kind of talking about. I had some promotions at work, so that was really exciting. Other things I'm most proud of, I enjoyed another year with you.
Oh, thanks, dear. I love you too.
Yeah, marriage is most important, more important than work. And just so everyone's out there clear on the priorities here.
Covering your tush.
But it was a good year. I'm very happy with it.
So I think looking back on 22, yes, I'm very proud of us. We made it another year. But I'm really proud of the book being published.
You did do your book this year.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
We wrote it in fall of 2021, but it published in 2022.
Yeah. And it's sitting right in front of us.
It's sitting right beside me, just in case I reference it. But I'm also really proud of just thinking about all of the different chapters in the book and how you and I have started just writing the book, started the process of talking more so about how what we do relates to each other.
Yes.
Because so often we get in these silos of, we just work by ourselves, especially music teachers, because they're usually the only one of them at their school. And looking back on all the notes I took January 1st of 2022 to reflect and see what I've accomplished. Have I met my goals? Have I accomplished some of the things I wanted to accomplish? I think what's been neat is hearing you and I talk about work in a different light, where it's almost like we're making transfers intentionally because we wrote the book, or I wrote the book. He helped with a lot of the chapters, you guys. He had to listen to me read them out loud or hash them out.
Ghostwriter kind of thing.
You never wrote any words.
I never wrote any words.
You never wrote any words.
Zero credit
but
for that.
Lots of conversations. And so I think looking ahead at 2023, it's not so much of resolutions. It's like, what cool things can we accomplish this year to build on all these awesome things that we've done so far? And what will that look like when we're sitting here reflecting into the next year? So thinking about 2023, what's your most excited thing? What's your biggest goal?
Well, so I'm going to pick back off what you just said. I really enjoy thinking about how your future self will look back on what you're doing today. I think that's always really good. So thank you for acknowledging that. What will we be looking back on this time next year on how this following year went. So yeah, I really like that. That's something really, really good.
Well, I don't think we should just let it all wash out with the water. I think everything you're doing is building. And even if you're not seeing it, there's a sign when you walk into our office. There's a sign on the door that says something along the lines of, it doesn't matter what you did. It matters how much you loved and something else. But I know it's over there. How much you loved is important. But it's not so much what you did. It's how do you make the people in the room feel? And that's where this whole culture conversation comes from. Because I think that's where I'm feeling my biggest goals are all about culture for this coming year. Not just culture in my choir or in my classrooms or with my students or with my friends. It's really culture and how my authentic leadership fits into the culture, that like the bubble that's being created around me. Because when you think of it, everything has some type of culture. And in chapter 4 of the book, I totally stole your analogy. And culture is like a breath of air, because you can, when you walk into a place, you can feel the culture. So let's talk about culture building. But first things first, we have to connect why this works. So you and I talk about it all the time, how our careers are vastly different. Our leadership styles are insanely different, but they're both authentic to us. And it works.
You're being yourself.
And you're being yourself. I could never be you.
No, ditto. I would never host a podcast, but you're doing an excellent job.
Hey, you're practicing.
Leaning into the microphone.
Stop doing that. I'm going to have to edit the gains. Anyway, let's connect the dots here. So what does culture look like in the engineering world?
So I think that it oftentimes can take a back seat, unfortunately, because there's so much focus on the technical challenges. That this idea of, hey, we're all people, we're all different, we all value different things, have different perspectives, but we all are working together. I think that idea is easy to be forgotten about or overshadowed.
Because when you say engineer, I think, what do you build? What do you make? What do you design? And you do still do some design and some technical work, but mostly you're in the people business now.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I mean, and everyone is. I mean, that's what it's all about, is how are you working together with others? How are you communicating? And all that is rooted on culture.
And I think for us as choir people, Vic Oakes always says the second that you start pursuing a degree in music education, you're no longer in the music business, you're in the people business. And so I think that's a good connection, because you as soon as you started doing management, you became part of the people business.
Right.
But you're right. And especially in engineering, you guys don't always think about culture first. And we talk a lot about culture in the choir world. How do your singers know, or how do your musicians know, if you're a band or whatever else, that they're welcome in the room? And that really starts with a few different things. So reflecting back on 2022, you're proud of what you've built culture-wise. How do you know that?
I can look at the department and people we've hired and brought in and how they all have gotten to know each other. And it looks like what I was hoping it would look like, where people are being friendly, they're being themselves, or they feel okay to be different than others, and they feel protected. And that's what I was hoping to have. And it's gone pretty well so far.
So you're seeing it in what ways? I know my favorite example was the Halloween pumpkin decorating contest.
Yes.
Y'all, a bunch of engineers decorating big, humongous pumpkins was pretty hilarious.
Yes.
That was an awesome activity. But you didn't set that up. They set it up for themselves.
Yeah, and they felt empowered to do that, to take the reins. It wasn't just me going, hey, this is how our party should look, and you should do this, and you should be happy with it. They felt empowered to take the reins and plan it themselves, and they had a really good time. And that was really, really rewarding to see that.
I think that's when this podcast idea sparked for me, because last year around this time, you were talking about building and changing the culture. You had proposed the idea to upper management of creating a team that was focused on culture building and learning the culture. And it worked. How did you do it? I think we have a few steps here. What was the first thing that you did?
So the first thing was I had the unique opportunity of building a team almost fully from the ground up. So that meant a lot of hiring. It wasn't just bringing in people. So it was different challenges. If you're bringing in a lot of existing people, different challenges. But with the intentional hiring, I had the opportunity to, as I'm doing different interviews, really see the people in the interview process and understand that how they will maybe interact with other people that you're hiring, because they don't know each other yet, and you're kind of the central hub of everything. And just being really intentional with that, I'm thinking about how they will all blend together in this kind of natural, organic, room full of people, and how some will be friends, some will be just acquaintances, some will be really good friends. And it's been really intentional with that, about they're all different coming in, and you're not just hiring the exact same person over and over and over. You're hiring in different people.
And that's such a good thing too. So maybe step one would be people first. And for us in the music world, it's the intentional recruitment into your ensemble, or the intentional inclusion of everyone in the space, the taking the time, like you just said, to get to know the person. We've had so many great guests come on the podcast and say that, like, don't remember it's person first, and making sure you know who's in your room. I think that's a great way to look at building and enhancing your culture. And step one is people first, intentionally diversifying and understanding who's in your space, and then making sure they belong. So people first, step
yes,
one.
Absolutely, people first. You can't do anything else until you have that first and you understand it.
Okay, step two.
Step two is, so once you have you hired in or you recruited in the different people, and kind of what your idea of what their different perspectives will be and how they'll contribute to the big picture, they're all going to come in and kind of like start feeling out the room, filling out each other. And I think it's really important to demonstrate that, I guess, two things I would say. You want to demonstrate that we're here to do good things, to do good work. If you are just having a good time and not really getting much work done, unfortunately, your department's not going to last very long. So number one is going to be just getting a lot of good work done. But I think right there with that is have fun doing it. For me, we're all engineers. We like engineering stuff. And so have an environment where people are in there, they're achieving amazing things, but they're having a good time doing it, and it doesn't come at the cost of having fun. And so just really demonstrating what it means to accomplish great things, but have fun while doing it.
I think that's important. And in the music world, it's that really fine balance between working hard and also having fun. I think that they don't have to be separate, but it also doesn't have to be all fun. It can't, like, I love the analogy of, choir is like a full meal. You have appetizers and entrees and side dishes and desserts, and you can't have a whole choir season or whatever music program of all dessert. You can't have just candy and feel comfortable. I mean, this is after Christmas.
Plenty of candy. I've done with candy for a while.
So I think that's the feeling you get if you don't diversify, but you have to have those interspersed, like, work hard, play hard, and modeling that. I think that's what's so cool to see, is it started by you modeling, hey, let's all meet in the park for a weekend get together. Right. And now they're starting to plan their own things and do their own things together because it was modeled. Work hard, play hard, and model it.
Yep. And the working hard doesn't have to be the antithesis of the play hard.
Right.
You can work hard, achieve some awesome things, and have a really good time doing it. And showing what that looks like, I think is really important.
I think it's great. Boudreaux is also in this recording.
Welcome
with
to the
us.
family.
The whole Burch family is sitting here at the table.
He's not needy at all.
And Boudreaux is really struggling with, he wants to have a moment. Do you want to have a moment on the microphone? Okay, relax. You're going to be just fine. It's so ridiculous, our little family here. He really did just try to eat the microphone. No eating the microphone, dude. So I think in that same vein of modeling it, I think for us as teachers, sometimes we can we're overworked. I think that's a big piece of the puzzle, and expectations are high. And sometimes that's true too, as you're looking from the top down, people want to see numbers. Are you producing? But you also have to remember that it's not just all the expectations. There still must be some type of joy in it. So I think one of my goals for this year is making sure, as we create the culture and we put the people first in the room, that we are also finding ways to celebrate the awesomeness that's happening, so that we don't ever get caught in that negative downhill spiral. Not that toxic positivity where everything's just fine, like acknowledging when something's wrong.
Yeah.
That's such a good way of putting it. So if one is people first and two is model, work hard, play hard, and be real. I think that's what goes with number two, is being real and acknowledging that, but not letting yourself fall into that spiral. It turns your cloud dark, and you can't accomplish great things and keep people first if your cloud's dark.
Mm-hmm.
What's the final step?
So I think the first two are very much, as the leader, you're basically in the driver's seat. If you're doing the hiring, you're finding the people, you have this idea of what this group or department or team will look like.
Or choir or band or choir or music classroom.
Exactly.
Make the transfer.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you. Yeah, that's why she's the host. And then the second one, is demonstrating it and showing it off and fostering it. So again, more in the driver's seat. But then I think the third is time to kind of take a step back and allow the team to have that intentional investment into it. And maybe they want to kind of do some different things, or they value different things, or different events, or whatever it may be, and allow them to kind of take the reins, be in the driver's seat. And then as a leader, being okay with that, of whatever they decide to pursue, whether that's different get-togethers or communication styles or whatever it may be okay with it, because they're going to be invested into it and trust them with it. So I think that's kind of the third point, is allowing them to take the reins on just different aspects of the things they value, and being okay with that.
It's hard sometimes to stop and step back, especially because in your head, you know what you want it to look like, or you know what you want it to sound like. But what would happen if you brought up the third grader or the fourth grader and let them lead the song? What happens if you asked your eighth graders what song they want to choose out of something that, like, give them a list that you've predetermined, like pick 10 songs and let them choose, but giving them a say in the matter and allowing that investment into it. And like you said, that trust process, it's just a good reminder. Everybody, I'm sure as you're listening, you already know these things, but so much can be gained through intentional culture building. And culture really ultimately boils down to the authentic leadership style that's driving the ship. And I know in chapter 4 of our book, The Business of Choir, we talk a lot about culture and leadership. And I designed 6 steps for authentic leadership in there.
Here we go.
I'm not going to give them away right now. It's chapter 4 of the book. You can read it.
Part of the book.
It's a good book. Anyway, that wasn't the point of this conversation. It's just remembering that as you're building the culture, I think that's a great way to also reflect on you building you as a leader. And I think one of my goals this year is to find more ways to get out of the way. Find more ways for the students to help design the syllabus. I know there's a lot of really great research out there on democratic teaching strategies, and I want to see that utilized, especially with creatives. And I'd love to see my choir singers have more of a say in everything, because they already help with warm-ups and they already help during the rehearsal process, but how can I get them in front of them more? Like our spring concert is completely conducted by the high schoolers. So what can I do in the early steps to get them involved, not just in the conducting, but in the whole process?
Yeah, that's a good point, because by giving them the opportunity to take the lead, you're now preparing them to be the future leaders.
No matter what they go into.
Yeah, exactly. So you look at the kind of step 3 or 3 steps. If the last one is allowing them to kind of take the reins, the driver's seat, whatever, then that's preparing them for the next time they have an opportunity to have a team or build up whatever they've had the experiences.
Right.
And that's a really good point.
And it's fun to sit back and watch. And even if it falls apart, it shows you what parts of the process can improve for next time. So I guess the whole point of this is, what are our goals for 2023? And how can we take what we've done in 2022 and build on that? And it's fun to share what you've done in the engineering world and how it connects. All right, so let's recap all your steps. What's step 1 for building cultural awareness? What are we calling it? Building the culture of your team?
Yeah. So the first is going to be when you're forming the team. If you're hiring in people, or you're
recruiting people, or you're given a second grade class.
Yeah. It's just assess either people that you already have or who you want to bring in, the different personalities. Just really keep a good handle on that.
Number 1, people first.
People first.
Okay, number 2.
Number 2 is to demonstrate what it means that it's a safe place to maybe have a little fun, but also demonstrate that you're not having fun at the expense of performance or whatever it may be. That those two things go hand in hand. So just really demonstrating that so they can see you as a leader and start to model your behaviors.
Number 2, modeling, work hard, play hard, and being real. What's the third one?
Great summaries. And the third one is, after you've modeled it and they have seen what it looks like, is to take a step back and to allow them to kind of test out some things, whether it's some events or some get-togethers or different communication styles, whatever it may be. Allow them to kind of take the reins, and so that they have ownership in it.
Number 3, move. Get out the way. Get out the way. Get out the way.
Again, perfect summarization.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing some of your insight from engineering world to music world. Again, all this is in chapter 4 of our book that we're so excited about. Alex Gardner and I wrote, and next week's episode is actually Alex interviewing me. He sent me my interview questions.
Look at that.
I know it's kind of what sparked my idea for these new kickoff questions for the warm-up and close-up questions for the what did we learn today? Because I make my students tell me at the end of every class, what did you learn today? And then they popcorn around the room what they learned today.
That's really good.
So I'll have some final questions for you. You ready to test these out?
Oh, let's do it.
This is going to be a great one. What is the best or most recent book that you have read?
It's great. So I read a lot of things at work, and a lot of them are development books and whatnot. So I think the current book that I'm in is What Got You Here Won't Get You There, I think it is. And it's a leadership development book about how some of the techniques you had in your early days of leadership may have gotten to where you are now, but if you continue in that exact path, it won't get you where you want to go. So taking a step back, it's really people focused and how others perceive you in whatever organization you're in.
What a cool book.
Yeah.
And it's perfect for right now as we're all deciding how we're going to go forward in 2023. Mm-hmm. Again, it's not resolutions and forget everything you've done before, start over. It's let's build on the awesomeness of what all you've achieved in these last years and see where we can go from here, especially as we build our cultures. Okay, second question. What or who is mattering to you right now?
Oh, we also have a parentheses or inspiring.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to go for it here. I really think you are.
Aww.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting.
Yeah. I mean, it's true. It's true. We are very different, but there's a lot of things that you do extremely well that I wish I was better at. So it's fun observing and participating in your experience in life and learning from it a bit. It's motivating.
Thanks. It's fun sharing life with you too. Sorry to be sappy, podcast listeners. All right, question 3 of your close-up wrap-up questions. What am I going to call these? I don't know. What is an organization that matters to you right now?
Well, I'm going to go right back to where I was before, that your organization, Rise Outreach, is doing amazing things. Yeah, and it's amazing to see some of the things you're able to achieve, going out and doing outreach to different people, young people, elderly people, people that really needs a little more music in their life. And I'm very proud of you.
It's really fun. Yeah. We're talking more about that 501c3 next week. It's kind of cool.
Nice.
Because we were on the news.
Segue.
I know. Okay, last question. What is the thing that matters? Are you seeing the theme in all these questions?
Matters.
What is the thing that matters that you want the listeners to remember from today?
I think that we should all acknowledge that we are a cog in the system, a piece of the pie of this whole world of. It's so easy to be frustrated at other people, but you always got to think about how are they perceiving you, and are you demonstrating the things that you would want to see in others? I think it's a Gandhi quote, something along those lines. Be the change you want to see in the world. I think that is something that really matters to me. I try to do often. I don't always do it, perfectly, but I think that's really important to always think about how are you contributing to this world being a better place, and this world, this choir, this department, this organization, whatever it may be. How are you contributing
community.
to that? Yeah,
that's
all those
good.
things. Yeah.
Be the change you want to be.
Oh, there we go.
It's
Going
a
into
song.
a song.
It is a song.
If I knew it, I would join in.
Oh, yeah, because that's all.
Be the change you want to see in the world.
Just make that up. Close. You're close.
Yeah.
You're really close.
Should be a composer in my next life.
Well, thank you for coming on the podcast for your annual appearance. You're getting better every time.
Terrible last time?
No,
hey,
it's
next year,
fun.
2023 into 2024. It's
Whoop,
gonna be
whoop.
great.
It's gonna be so good. Thank you so much for listening. Stay tuned for lots of fun stuff, and Happy New Year from the Burches and the Music and Matters podcast to all of you.
2023 or 2023. Yeah, either one.
In case no one's told you today, you matter. We all know that music
matters.
Especially whatever goals or intentions or hopes that you have for the year ahead. And I'll see you next time on the Music It Matters podcast.